Hello and welcome to today's webinar on cybersecurity, hosted by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy and the National Cybersecurity Centre. My name is Andy Harrison and I head up the Business Engagement, Advice and Delivery team here at the Department for Business. A quick housekeeping point before we start. There are controls at the bottom of your screen to pause the session and for adjusting video quality and sound. You can ask questions during the webinar by selecting the Q&A symbol on the right-hand side of your screen, typing your question in the compose box, and then selecting Send. As the UK's National Technical Authority on Cybersecurity, the National Cybersecurity Centre is committed to equipping all UK businesses with the best cybersecurity advice. Today's webinar will provide an overview of the cybersecurity risks facing businesses in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak and showcase the range of resources freely available to support you to protect yourself and your business from cybersecurity risks. The coronavirus pandemic has resulted in unprecedented disruption for businesses who've had to rapidly adapt to new ways of working, including by moving from the physical to digital delivery and relying more heavily on IT services to run their business. So to help us through, I'd like to welcome Chris from the National Cybersecurity Centre. Chris will take us through a presentation covering ways to protect your businesses and set out the advice and support available to you before answering some of the questions that you've put forward. So Chris, over to you.
Good morning, Andy, and good morning to everybody on the call. Thank you for joining this morning. My name is Christopher. I'm the SME Engagement Officer within the National Cybersecurity Centre. Today is really just to provide that overview of the cybersecurity risks businesses have faced as a result of COVID-19. So this is designed for SMEs which have been impacted as a result and are now interested in developing their business strategies and looking at implementing their business online. So there's really three parts to this webinar this morning. First off, just to take a run through of the role of NCSC in supporting businesses in UK industries. And then moving on to look at the most common cyber threats faced by businesses and how to mitigate being the victim of a cyber incident. And finally, a look at the products and guidance available published by the NCSC to keep businesses and the UK safe and secure online. Next slide, please. So the National Cybersecurity Centre was set up in October of 2016 in support of one national ambition: to make the UK the safest place to live and do business online. It was recognised that the UK needed a coherent lead authority that could bring together previously separate parts of government as a one-stop shop for cybersecurity. And that is very much the role of the National Cybersecurity Centre, acting as that one-stop shop for cybersecurity across the UK, whether for individuals, families or businesses. The National Cybersecurity Centre aims to provide a one coherent voice for all cybersecurity knowledge and guidance for all of the UK. Next slide, please. So we support the most critical organisations in the UK, the wider public sector, industry, SMEs, as well as the general public, by acting as that single point of contact. We also work collaboratively with other law enforcement, defence, the UK's intelligence security agencies and our international partners under four aims: to understand, respond, nurture and reduce the cyber impacts and threats to the UK nation. But we also are there to support cybersecurity risks faced by the nation. When incidents do occur, we provide effective instant response to minimise harm to the UK, help with recovery and learn lessons for future endeavours. Because the reality of the threat we face, large, growing and diverse, means that some attacks will get through. And the first duty of the NCSC is to help manage and mitigate the impact of those attacks. Next slide, please. So we are there to provide that information and guidance for all of the UK. This isn't just for businesses, but also for the UK citizen, for families, for micro and sole traders, and also the public sector and cyber professionals. As we move now to wider digital operations, introducing new technologies, it's important we recognise the risks faced by cybersecurity and the need for strong measures to be in place. From online banking and shopping to email and social media, it's more important than ever to take steps which can prevent cyber criminals getting hold of our account, data and devices, whether at the individual level or at the national level. We work across all spectrums to ensure that the nation is kept safe and secure. Next slide, please. So my role is very much that, is working with UK businesses, working with SMEs to ensure that they are safe and secure online. That is part of a wider operations of work to work with our SME partners, academia, the charity and voluntary sector, to ensure that we have strong resilience across those sectors. That we work with our industry partners to protect SMEs, charities and voluntary organisations from the most common cyber threats. Next slide, please. So we work across industry partners with trade and regulatory bodies and with the local and regional partners, because we recognise that SMEs are pivotal to the UK economy. SMEs account for 99.9% of the UK's private sector business, 47% of UK turnover, and 60% of all private sector employment. So it's imperative that we have a strong and secure SME network, which is resilient to cyber attacks across the board. And that through effective SME engagement and the delivery of consistent cybersecurity messaging, we aim to play a key role in achieving this vision of ensuring that all businesses are safe and secure and can mitigate and respond to cyber incidents. Next slide, please. "2020 has been an unprecedented year for cybersecurity. COVID-19 has seen a real shift in the cyber landscape in the way in which businesses operate and work online. No doubt that many of us have been affected by the transition to home working, the implementation of video conferencing services, and moving our businesses from the physical to the digital delivery. And this has been a real opportunity for cyber criminals. In April, NCSC published a joint advisory with the US Cyber and Infrastructure Security Agency, which looked at the increasing number of malicious cyber actors exploiting the current COVID-19 pandemic for their own objectives. In the UK example, we detected more UK government branded scams relating to COVID-19 than any other subject. At the time, while the overall levels of cybercrime had not increased, both the NCSC and the Homeland Security were seeing a growing use of COVID-19 related themes by malicious cyber actors, such as a huge increase in phishing emails used as an opportunity to deliver malware and ransomware to targeted businesses. This saw email addresses being spoofed and targeted, and a larger target on the SME sector relating to scams and phishing emails. This is a real issue for businesses now who are growing their IT network and introducing digital business operations in a way they may have not done previously. We are now seeing businesses expand and grow their digital footprint and the infrastructure they're using to use their business online. Next slide, please. And we can see this from the growing use of digital technology businesses now using. Earlier this year, we published the Cyber Breaches Survey of 2020, which highlighted that almost half of all UK businesses now have email addresses, with the vast majority of organisations having a website. Half of more organisations also have online bank accounts, social media pages, and hold personal data about customers. While we found that taking payments or booking online is relatively less common, 1 in 4 businesses still carry out transactions online. And over half of the UK businesses surveyed say that staff use personal devices for business use. What does this mean? Well, firstly, this means that businesses now need to take a wider holistic approach to their digital infrastructure and look at the way in which they operate in a virtual environment. These are prime areas for cyber criminals to target business to access your data, your assets, your information. So it's important that businesses recognize and take account of the devices and infrastructure they have in place to use their business online. And this is only increasing because of COVID-19. Many businesses now setting up websites for the first time, taking transactions online, and really growing their business portfolio across the IT infrastructure. So it's important that businesses really take stock of how they're doing business online and making sure that those areas are secure and equipped. Because the reality of the situation is that we're now seeing an increase in cyber breaches across the board. And that was highlighted in the study earlier this year. Next slide, please. That of those businesses surveyed, almost half of those businesses had reported a cyber breach or attack in the last 12 months. 1 in 5 had experienced a material outcome, losing money or data, and 2 in 5 were negatively impacted. For example, requiring new measures, such as having staff diverted or causing wider business disruption. So it's important to recognise the impact a cyber breach may have on your organisation and your day-to-day operations. But it's important to recognise what these threats are. What are we looking out for? What is the most common breach identified to UK businesses? Next slide, please. Overwhelmingly, of the 700 plus businesses which identified a breach or attack, over 2/3 were a result of a phishing attack. Now, for those on the call who aren't familiar with phishing attacks, these are attacks which attempt to trick users into doing the wrong thing, such as clicking on a malicious link that will download malware or direct them to a dodgy website. These are considered by far the most disruptive and common types of attack organizations face. But then what we saw was that this was followed to a much less extent by impersonation and then viruses or other malware. And phishing attacks are, as common as they are, may not necessarily be that sophisticated. We can identify phishing attacks and make sure that staff are well trained to ensure that they know how to protect themselves online and ensure that they're not the victims of a cyber breach. Next slide, please. Because what we found is that of those businesses which are identified as cyber breach, the average cost to a business following a data breach was around £3,000. And this was made up of 2 areas. This was a direct cost of staff being prevented from carrying out their work, lost, damaged or stolen data and assets, but also the recovery costs as well. It's the additional staff time needed to deal with the breach or to inform customers, the cost to repair equipment or infrastructure, and then repair any of the associated assets. So the cost of a cyber breach can be quite steep to businesses, definitely for smaller and medium-sized enterprises, which may not be able to foot the cost of a cyber breach. So this is where the NCSC really provides that guidance and assurance to businesses and works and teaches them how to be safe and secure online and the measures they can implement to work effectively and securely. Next slide, please. So earlier this year, as a result to COVID-19, we published the Cyber Aware campaign. The Cyber Aware campaign is the UK's government's advice for all UK citizens on how to stay secure online during COVID-19. This helps the public and small businesses stay secure online. through a series of simple and quick behaviours that aim to help protect against cybercrime. These are 6 actionable steps for individuals and businesses to implement to ensure that their activity online is safe and secure. Ultimately, it's about making good cybersecurity habits become second nature. Next slide, please. We also announced the suspicious email reporting service. This is an email address which UK citizens can report suspicious emails to the National Cybersecurity Centre, whether it be emails you don't recognise or communications which seem harmful. As of the end of June, we had well over 1 million reports of phishing emails into the SCNC, which was absolutely phenomenal. You know, we've taken close to 5,000 scams down and over 11,000 URLs which were dodgy. And this really shows an increase in cyber awareness across the UK. That citizens are now looking out for malicious activity and identifying when not to click on a link and when to report those incidents. Next slide, please. We also published the SME Support Pack in response to home working. So this looked at guidance for preparing organisations and staff to working from home, the implementation of video conferencing, and guidance for businesses who are moving from a physical to their digital operations. Those who may have had to shutter their sites to move to digital delivery. Next slide, please. Part of this as well is the Small Business Guide, which we launched back in October 2017, which very much like the Cyberware campaign, teaches 5 actionable steps for businesses to implement to keep their business safe and secure online. So this advice is categorized into 5 steps, from backing up data, protecting against malware, keeping devices safe, using strong passwords, and avoiding phishing attacks. And the implementation of these controls involves little to no cost. These are things all businesses can do across the board, and there's no need to invest in expensive IT or equipment. This very much creates a baseline to keeping businesses online safe and secure. Next slide, please. Part of this as well is recognizing the need for incident management as well. That there's no such thing as a perfect security system, and we need to recognize that a cyber incident may occur to any businesses, regardless of shape or size. So we published the Response Recovery Guide, which walks businesses through in creating an implementation plan on responding to a cyber incident and understanding the steps needed to take to move from a response phase into recovery and bring the business back online. And just to note there that if at any time businesses are impacted by a cyber instance, these should be reported to Action Fraud on the number below or the Action Fraud website. Next slide, please. We also recognise that cybersecurity training can be a costly endeavour. So we published the Stay Safe Online training module for businesses to implement. This training is totally free, easy to use, and it takes less than 30 minutes for employees to complete. So the training introduces to staff why cybersecurity is important, how attacks happen, and then looking at defending yourself against phishing attacks, using strong password, securing devices, and reporting an incidents. Those things which we've touched about in previous guidance, which can be implemented across the board and really move towards a behavioural change, so staff are aware and understand the risk of cybersecurity and a cyber incident. Next slide, please. And finally, I just wanted to touch on the Cyber Essentials certification, which is backed by UK governments. The Cyber Essentials Certificate gives businesses that peace of mind that their defences will protect against the vast majority of common cyber incidents. Simply because cyber criminals and malicious actors are looking for targets which do not have these measures and controls in place. The process of obtaining the certification is simple. It costs around £300. Organisations assess themselves against 5 basic security controls, and a qualified assessor verifies that information provided, which then gives them that certificate. What's better is that included within the Cyber Essentials Certificate, there is a free cyber liability insurance. This includes 24 hours helpline to report a cyber incident, which will provide crisis management and instant response to the total, I believe it's total limit of £25,000. Next slide, please. So those are some of the products we have available to businesses, whether small, medium, on ways in which they can keep themselves online, they keep themselves secure online and implement those measures. As I said, these are free guidance pieces, free products which cost little to no money to implement. And just put there, it's important to recognise that if at any point a business is the victim of a cyber incident or identifies a suspicious activity, this should be reported to the NCSC via the suspicious email reporting service. Or if you are going through a cyber incident at the time, you can contact the NCSC at that website, who, depending on the circumstance, may provide incident management support to help you through that instance. Next slide, please. So that was a very quick canter through of the findings we've discovered in the last 12 months, what we've identified from the COVID-19 activities, and some of the products we have available to help businesses through this difficult time, to help them move their business online and ensure that the UK nation and the UK businesses are working safely and securely for the foreseeable future. Thank you for your time. That's everything from me. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was really, really informative. I just want to add that we will send a link to a recording of this presentation to participants of the webinar today, so that if you wanted to, rewatch it again and sort of safety taking notes and things like that, it will be available to you, and we'll send it out later today. Chris, we've had questions coming in. One for me before we start is that you talked about phishing as being one of the biggest threats that people are getting. Can you give a little bit more detail of the types of emails that these phishing emails look like?
Yes, so absolutely. So I think one of the most common phishing emails that we've probably all experienced at one point or another has been emails or texts from HMRC purporting to be providing a tax rebate. Now, we all know from experience from news is that these are malicious activities. These are real. HMRC won't contact you. And we did a lot of work with HMRC to really take these phishing emails offline, and we rarely see HMRC phishing emails coming through now as a result of that activity. And this is what the suspicious email reporting service does, is to take these phishing emails offline. Now, there's some fantastic training on the NCA website about recognizing phishing emails. There are telltale signs. You'll often see poor spelling from an addressee you don't recognize, poor imagery. Always a sense of urgency, trying to access your account. So there are signs that we can now identify, that we can use to identify a phishing email, and it's just making sure that people are aware of these and looking out for the telltale signs. And we've got information on the NCSC website, training available, which will identify what to look out for in a phishing email.
So it's really important then that people report these to you so that you can sort of start taking them down.
Absolutely, and with over 1 million responses to date, I think the UK as a whole is really recognising what to look out for and the real risk these pose.
Fascinating. Okay, let's get into the questions from delegates. So the first one up, is there any particular video conferencing service that's recommended that's secure?
So we don't necessarily recognise any one particular video conferencing services, given how many are now available. We have published guidance on video conferencing for not only for UK businesses but also for individuals as well, for them to make that decision, because it looks at the security controls and measures to consider. So it's a fantastic piece of guidance, and it'll talk you through what to look out for and the security you should be implementing when using video conferencing.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what support is available to SMEs in the case of an incident?
So in the case of an instance, depending on the severity of an instance, NCSC may be able to provide that support. We recommend to all businesses that if they are the victim of a cyber incident to contact Action Fraud immediately, which will then be triaged down to law enforcement. So that may be the local police force or the regional organised crime units, again, depending on the severity. But my advice would be that for all businesses to have some form of incident management plan in place. Now, whether that's simply taking a device offline or having access to devices which are clean, but just working through what you would do in that instance. We see more times than not that businesses having fantastic security controls in place, but not considering what to do during a cyber incident.
Okay, and our details of how to develop a plan, is that available on the ncsc.gov.uk website?
Yeah, definitely. So if you just go to our website and look for the response to recovery guidance, information is in there about what you need to, what actions to take in creating an incident plan, and also what to do during a response phase of a cyber incident, and how you can then go about recovering from the incident. But a lot of the steps that you can take to ensure that if you are a victim of a cyber incident, you can get your business back online is in the small business guide. Things like backing up your data on a daily, consistent basis will really help to secure that in the case of a cyber incident, you can get back online quite quickly.
Another question we've had in is, what's the NCSC's view on using password managers with cloud syncing?
So my short answer to that is I'm not aware of this time on password management use with cloud syncing. We have published guidance on using password managers. That would be my first point of call, but it's something I can take away and investigate further.
Okay, thank you. And where can we find the SME Support Package business guide?
Absolutely. So again, all the guidance is on the NCSC website. You'll see at the top of the web page we have a tab for information for small and medium-sized enterprises. That will then link to the COVID-19 response, the support package, which includes all three guidance pieces.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's it. There are no more further questions. So thank you, Chris. That ends our question and answer session for today. If we were unable to address your question this morning, a suite of guidance and information for businesses is available at the NCSC website at www.ncsc.gov.uk. The website address is on the screen at the moment. You can stay up to date with the latest coronavirus information for businesses by subscribing to the Coronavirus Business and Employers Bulletin, and a link should be available now on your screen. When completing the simple subscription process, can I also suggest that you also sign up to receive our sister transition bulletin that provides information to support your business to take action to get ready for the new rules that will come into force on the 1st of January 2021, when the UK leaves the single market and the customs union on the 31st December 2020. So finally, it just remains for me to thank Chris and to thank you all for joining us today. Goodbye.